HiSec Buyback offers a 90% JITA anywhere in HiSec. Simply go to hisec.evebuyback.com, appraise your items, create a contract, and get paid quickly.
This is Talking in Stations, a show about EVE Online. Today on the station, we've got some fantastic panelists. Arsia, whose last name I don't remember.
Arsia Elkin. Hello.
Elkin. There we go. We've also got Domanark with only one name, and I appreciate you.
Hello.
We've also got, coming on a little bit later into the show to give us an update on the war, Shen.
Hello, hello.
And our special guest on today's show, he's a new-ish, at least new to me, content creator for EVE Online, Cade Plays Games, or Cade.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome to you. We're glad to have you on the show. So the show today is called EVE Online Summer School. Now don't worry, we aren't going to slap you on the wrist with a ruler. We're just going to talk a little bit about what it's like to learn EVE as a new player. And fortunately for us, Cade has created some fantastic resources for that. But before we get into it, I want to talk a little bit about you, the player, Cade. So how did you get started in EVE Online?
I started playing EVE way back in 2008. I first got into it due to PC Gamer magazine was constantly printing articles about the Band of Brothers takeover of the whole server and the Guiding Hands social club assassination way back in the day. So when I finally got broadband and a new rig, the first thing I did was install EVE, which took about 4 days, because that's how the internet was in 2008. And I've played pretty much every day since then. So just after 13 years.
13 years, wow. That is incredible. How long, gosh darn it. Excuse me while I get my brain back in a functioning state. Arsia, how long have you been playing EVE?
11 years, 2010.
Ah, okay. So we've got a first and a second place. Domanark, where are you landing?
2010, 11 years. Yeah.
Nice. I think I'm on a solid 6 years. So, twice my age in EVE time. Shen, what about you?
A year and a bit for me.
A year and a bit, right on. Well, I really like that we've got quite a diverse cast in terms of how long we've been in EVE, because EVE has always struggled, at least in my opinion, maybe you guys have different opinions, in terms of like the new player experience, what resources are there, what guides are there, and we really relied on third-party sources like Cade to provide the resources CCP was missing. What was it like, for those of you who were in the game years upon years ago, what was it like starting out?
Here's a ship, go F yourself.
Yeah.
I almost quit the game over the tutorials. If it wasn't for somebody like Cade, I would not be playing EVE.
Yeah, when I first started, you spawned in your pod in space next to a rookie ship, and you were told to board it, and then you mined one Veldspar rock, and then you killed 2 NPCs, and that was it. That was the entire tutorial. So welcome to EVE. Thank you.
So, I actually failed to get into EVE a couple times before the 2010 account that I actually kept playing. My first trial account was in 2006, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't sub or keep playing it. My second trial account was a couple years after that. The same thing happened. The third trial account, because I had kept hearing about all this cool stuff that happened in EVE, I just decided I still don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to subscribe, and I'm going to learn this game if it kills me because I'm stubborn. And that's kind of what you had to do.
This game attracts stubborn
Either
people.
run into somebody who teaches you or flounder for like a year before you figure out how to mine for fish.
Well, like, let's have a conversation about training in EVE Online. I understand earlier on, CCP was like, HTFU, we're going to throw you in here. It's a big wide universe. Deal with it and learn it yourself. And so a lot of the old players have that sort of suck it up buttercup mindset. You're going to learn it if it kills you. But even more recently, when CCP has made a concerted effort to increase the retention of new players, it is still very, very hard. So my question is, like, what is it about EVE Online that makes it so difficult to provide a decent new player training experience?
Say it's a lack of the developers actually playing the game themselves. I mean, I know they say they do, but they obviously don't. Otherwise, the new player experience wouldn't be as bad as it is even now. Years ago, we actually had quite a good new player experience. It was fully scripted and it got you into fleet battles and it even pod killed you at the end just to really, really embed you into the EVE online universe. But for some reason, that was scrapped and we're left with what this hot mess we have now is. So it was good and now it's back to being bad.
Yeah.
Really? When was the... Go ahead, Arsia.
I think that part of the reason why it's hard to have a good new player experience is because a lot of the mechanics that become vital to understand are byproducts of the way the game is designed. Things like very, very counterintuitive things like how you have to know how to MWD and cloak and how you have to set up like Instadoc bookmarks and how people can get around the faction police if they're a criminal or in the other militia by like using drones and avoiding the faction police and still ganking you. And I think a lot of the mechanics that a lot of the long-term players take for granted, shooting somebody and bouncing off the gate guns and coming back so the gate guns don't shoot you anymore and killing them, for example, something like that. A lot of these things are very, very counterintuitive because the mechanics are wonky and it would be hard to teach in the format of a mission.
Yeah. A lot of things that are important to know in EVE are super hard to teach, like you said, and they've done the ball, like overview. There's not really any good tutorials on overview, and that's super important to the game to be able to do the different things in the game. You're right. It's the all-encompassing aspects of EVE, which aren't part of the tutorials that you need to know, like shit, like bouncing off the gate, knowing how to get through a gate camp with cloaks, stuff like that. That's super hard to put that in a tutorial because one, it doesn't affect everybody. You have to be in certain parts of space. When you first start out, you're in high sec, those things don't work there. So why would you have the tutorial thing, things like that? And in the past, from my experience, I joined in our Marissa, you did also when in 2010. They were kind of touting, new tutorials. We were all supposed to be all great and things. And my example is the scanning tutorial, the probe scanning. The tutorial said, and I wrote it down so I did not mess this up. It said launch a probe. Okay, I'll do what it says. It doesn't make any sense to me because I know it's a 3D space and you need 3 of them to triangulate something, right? But I said launch a probe. So I did that and failed over and over and over to scan anything. I just get pissed. Finally, a buddy of mine said, well, go on the internet and just look at, put it in. Somebody's probably made a video of it. And sure enough, I found somebody had made a video of how to properly actually scan something. And had I not found that, I was ready to quit. I was so upset about it. I was just pissed that the tutorial didn't work. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, and I mean, even... Go ahead, Cade.
Yeah, I mean, the scanning tutorial is still as bad. It's still trying to tell people to use the sensor overlay, even though CCP have disabled it by default. So rookies are like,
Well, they haven't changed that?
Now? No, they haven't changed that. They disabled the sensor overlay by default, but couldn't be bothered to update the tutorial. So every day in English help and rookie help, you just see, how do I find this scan site, guys?
Help me out here. The sensor overlay, is that the ring around your capacitor and then the little green and blue stuff in space?
Yeah, the green and red pings in space. But that was always the wrong thing to use anyway. You should have been teaching them to use the scanner window, which actually will give you a list of the anomalies, which is what you're trying to find in that tutorial. That's one of the things I covered in my videos, like the tutorials are awful.
It is, I feel like, a very difficult thing to do, and one of the things I liked about your tutorials there, Cade, is you did ones on like each kind of weapon system. And I know this is something I struggled with when I first started playing EVE, is I was like, I rolled up an Ammar character, so I want to use Ammar weapons. But everybody on the forums at the time was saying, Ammar sucks, don't use Ammar weapons, they eat a crap ton of cap, they don't do that much damage, you want to use other weapon systems. And so I'd be like, okay, well, can I just fit these other weapon systems onto my ship? Will it be any good? And no, it was hot garbage. It was trash. They didn't have bonuses to them. And so I think even before you get to the point of let's bounce off a gate to avoid gate gun aggro, you've got to get to what guns are good to use in what circumstances, and that is a very complex and in-depth discussion to have.
Yeah, because you can do things like having bait fit ships that have got like, well, the Punisher's a perfectly good one. You can have a frigate with 20,000 EHP, but it's got no power grid, and the only guns it can fit are autocannons, so everyone just has autocannons on that. And likewise, you have things like the old school Hellcats, which are like huge Amar battleships with artillery cannons, just to save on the capacitors so they can have a massive tank. I mean, you go down these rabbit holes in Eve, and if I went down all the rabbit holes in my videos, each one would be about 17 hours long.
You are correct.
So scripting them is like the key skill I've had to learn. Like, how much knowledge do I have to impart to allow people to do the thing I'm talking about? But how do I avoid overwhelming them with 18 years worth of layered mechanics?
Now, do you consider your videos to be like Industry 101, or we're talking Industry 401? 400 level?
At the minute, it's definitely 101.
Okay.
I mean, this one was literally how do you build stuff? You need to get a blueprint, then you need to get materials, you need to find a factory, you need to install the job. After that, I'll go into each of these steps in great detail because, as we all know, Eve is a really deep game, and each and every step has lots of caveats and situational things. And then we'll move into probably the 401, get into Tech 2 production and research. And I'm not sure I'll go as far as reverse engineering Tech 3 because that's just a brain melter at any level.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know that was a game mechanic. I thought it was just you get blueprints from a wormhole and then you do stuff with them, right? It's like
No, you have
normal
to reverse, you have to invent the Tech 2 blueprints. So that's a process.
Makes total sense.
So do you consider yourself an industry expert or PV? Or you probably have been around this long, you probably have hit all of the aspects of the game, right?
I've done most things, yeah. I mean, I do a lot of industry because it's AFK and it just runs constantly. So there's always something running in the background. So I'm earning money doing that at the same time I'm running combat sites, which is where I get most of my money from.
Yeah, right on. We've got Manic Velocity in chat. He says it's not enough to teach new players what to do. They need to understand why things are done in a certain way, and that's often best learned from experience. What do you guys think about that?
Of course, Manic's the smart one. He's right.
But yeah,
I think that's
absolutely, yeah.
Like, even
Love you, Manic.
players have been playing since the game started. Most people don't know everything in the game. There's just so much to do, and every like subset of the game is kind of different from like the other one. Like if you live in low sec, it's completely different mechanics than if you live in null sec, and if you live in a wormhole, you have all sorts of other mechanics that you have to worry about. And obviously, high sec is the most convoluted and unintuitive mechanics in the entire game, I think.
Why do you say that? Like, give us an example.
So, like, if you join enemy faction warfare, you go to the enemies. Let's say you're in Minmatar faction warfare and you go to the Amar Empire. The police chase you, right? And people know, okay, the police chase you, except that if you drop a bunch of drones somewhere, your police will chew through the drones, and you can just, if you know how this mechanic works, you can completely avoid it and like gank people on Amaran dock, right? That's how you see like people using the faction warfare wars to gank people in like Jita and Hack and Amar and all that. And then there's things like you can put out a bait ship and give it suspect, and then people shoot it, and then you switch it with another ship from an orca that you're sitting next to, and then you kill them, and people come and they grab you and you de-aggress and you put the ship back in the orca, and the orca is just fine and you warp away. Like, it's all kinds of this stuff that doesn't make sense unless you have to like learn it, because it's not intuitive.
Yeah, I will say that I agree. In order to learn Eve, you really do have to do it. But
or like war decks, like you can deck somebody and then fight over their structure, and then you get to the final timer, and you drop the corpse in your alliance that have the structures, which nullifies your ability to go to war. So you have a 24-hour war cooldown timer, so people can't ally into the defender, and you still have 24 hours where you can kill the structure with no allies.
That's one I didn't know about.
Like, there's all sorts of just stuff that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, more generally speaking though, like in terms of my learning experience, maybe it's just me, but I think I'm on the Domanark school of thought here, where you can try it all you want, but if you get stuck, you're just gonna leave the game. Like for me, I wasn't on the verge of leaving the game, but I'm trying to learn industry right now. And I've never done industry before. I might as well be a day one player. Like, I know people build things. I know that blueprints exist. I know
I
that there's
think
an
industry is
industry
just
window where
magic.
you use them. But, like,
Industry is magic.
what do I build? Where do I start? Like, I hear a lot of things where people say, oh, it's not worth your time to build stuff because people will build it at a loss. Like, what does that even mean? And so for me, like, I didn't know where to start doing the thing. So I had to have that initial resource saying, hey, this is how you begin to do the thing, even before I started learning how to do the thing well.
But right now is the best time to learn industry, honestly, with coming into it after those changes. If you did industry before the changes, and now after, there's a big difference between the two. And people who did industry, the way I understand it, are not happy about the changes because it is much more difficult. It's the longer process, is less profitable. This I know this for a fact. This is what I've just been hearing. So right now is a good time to learn industry since you're coming into it fresh. You don't have any preconceived notions of it. So like with Cade's industry video, it's perfect for new. This is actually perfect for new players. So there's no, they don't have any idea, so they get to learn it from scratch. To them, this is just the way industry is going to be, right? To people who have done it in the past, oh, the industry is broken, it's terrible, it's awful. Yeah, it's not the case for somebody like you or a new player. So this is a perfect time for a video like that. Okay, man.
Is that something we want to talk about? Like, does Eve's ever-changing set of mechanics and the way that they all interact with each other, does that just compound the challenges we've already established on training new people?
It can do, but it also keeps things fresh because it means that people that make guides also have to relearn stuff themselves so they can impart that knowledge onto people. And change is the one constant in the universe. You have to embrace it and move on with it, because if everything just stayed the same, then eventually the game would just stagnate. You have to shake things up every now and again, even big changes like we saw with industry. I mean, some of industry got easier, like they standardized a lot of the Tech 1 stuff. So building Tech 1 stuff got easier, but building Faction and Dead Space and Tech 2 and Tech 3 got a lot more complex. Even though CCP said they were making it easier, what they meant is more difficult.
I love that. CCP said they were making it easier, but they made it more difficult. That's a very interesting and EVE Online concept.
That's just how CCP work and always have and always will. I'm quite looking forward to Q4 because they have actually promised us we will get a new player experience and brand new tutorials. I mean, the new player team has been working on this for 3 years, and I can't wait to see what they've done or haven't done.
We are already seeing like some great output from them on that front. Somebody mentioned it earlier in chat, but we were talking about other things. They mentioned the EVE Academy videos that have been getting better and better and better over time. Have you guys checked those ones out?
I have seen some of them, yes, and I agree. They have been getting better. You think that they've had a lot to build on, so I mean, they should be.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, we used to have quite a lot of really quite good videos you could watch in game, but for again unknown reasons, CCP decided to just delete them all. So now you have to rely on third-party guys like me. Good for me, bad for players, but
I think another big problem with new players getting into the game is that it's really hard to find and search through corps in game because like the Corp interface is like the most broken thing in the game. I think it's like absolutely the most broken thing in the game.
No, the corporation UI has been terrible since I joined the game in 2008, and it's just they've tried to improve it a little bit. I mean, the Corp search tab, as it is now, is kind of all right-ish, but it could be so much better, so much better.
Yeah, it is better than what it was, but it is nowhere near what it should be.
And I think finding a good group is the most important thing for getting into the game and staying in the game.
No, absolutely, yeah.
Let's talk about
if you find a good corp, you'll just stay.
Like, what is a good corp? If you're first starting out, a lot of people recommend like new bro training corps. You've got your Eve Uni is the classic, and then more recently we've got Brave, Horde, Karma Fleet, etc. Is that really the?
Yeah.
They're back and running like full bore. Okay. Because they faltered there for a bit. I didn't know if they were back up and running. That's good because they've always been a staple in the game, and they've always been a good place for new players. I disagree. Being new bro friendly doesn't mean it's good for new bros. Karma Fleet, things like that. That's not for a new bro. I'm sorry. I'm part of that group. I just don't think it's for somebody who's new to the game, but not brand new to the game. You've got to know some things, right? Just I think Brave falls in that same category. Didn't used to, but I think they do now. They've progressed into a very very good group. You know, they don't they don't do the simple stuff anymore. So, Cade, do you know, are there any groups out there that are really new bro friendly?
Not really as such. I mean, obviously, Eve University have been around since before I started, so they're still pretty good. I know they had problems recently with a change in leadership, and they kind of fell apart for a few months, but they're back now, and they're still pretty good. And Red versus Blue is another good place to go. I mean, that's just pure permanent war between two alliances owned by the same guy. It's just all for fun. You'll learn so much from them. And there's also casual PvP groups like Spectre Fleet and Redemption Road, and even Bomber's Bar you can join just on a casual basis, just to dip in and out of PvP and see if you can pick up some things.
I agree with you at Red versus Blue. I spent a couple years doing that. It was a lot of fun. I used to FC Red versus Blue. It was a fun time.
I'm curious what your guys' individual like new player corp was like. Did you go to an Eve Unity? Did you have your own corp like you started with a real life friend sort of thing? Like, Cade, what was your initial corp experience?
I just joined random corps because people were, even back then, they were spamming you corp invites on emails, and I just clicked accept on pretty much the first one I saw, and I was with them for a few weeks, and obviously the guy was just asking you to buy Plex and then sell it for ISK and donate the ISK to the corporation. I was like, no thank you, goodbye Mr. Scambait. So then after that I met a few people in that corp, and then 7 or 8 of us split off and I started my own corp, and that only lasted a few months before we got war decked. And obviously we were all only about 4 months old then, didn't have a clue what we were doing, so that corp disbanded because the war absolutely wrecked us. So after that, I've pretty much been solo and just dipping in and out of these open PvP groups every time I get the urge to go and kill someone.
Oh, fair enough. How about the rest of you? Were you in a similar boat, or did you have something different?
After my initial floundering for far too long in my school, and then my floundering trying to make a corp when I just didn't entirely know what I was doing. After those first 2 years of being a lot worse at the game than I am now, I've basically been in small RP PvP groups for the rest of the time, because I started playing the game with the intention of RPing, and I'm still an RPer and a PvPer, and I've been in small RP PvP groups the entire time.
So you found your niche and you're sticking with it.
Pretty much. Obviously, like, the specifics change, that the characters' loyalties have changed, but a lot of the groups I've been in have been remarkably similar in a lot of ways, and the RP community in Eve is pretty fantastic. It was a good place to learn in general, with a lot of good people.
Interesting. I know, me personally, the things that people recommend you do as a new player are the opposite of the things that I did as a new player. And it was not by like any intent, I just didn't know what I was doing. So I started up and I just joined a random high-sec corp. And I thought, well, I'm a new bro. I should join a fleet or join a corporation with a bunch of other new bros. Because, you know, we're all new together. Sounds good, right? Right? So I joined a corp and like none of us knew what we were doing. I think the highest SP character we had at the time was like 10 million SP, and we thought that was crazy at the time. So we were all sort of learning together, and for me, maybe it's just more about me, the player, than Eve in general. I found it really fun to be able to go home, or not go home, but like sit in school or in college classes or whatever and browse through forums and learn stuff about Eve, so that then I could go back to my computer and say, hey guys, I just learned this new thing, let's go try it. Like, that was super fun for me. But it also meant that when we inevitably got war deck, just like you, Cade, we had no idea what we were doing. We're like, okay, well, I guess we have to learn how to PvP now. How do we do that? So we headed out into faction warfare. And I'll never forget, like, one of my first kills, it was recorded, because we're like, oh, we're gonna PvP, we're gonna make cool PvP videos, yeah. But I didn't know how to fit my ships. And on Battle Clinic, it would show all the ammo that people had in their ships at the time that they died. And I just thought, okay, so a Punisher, you've got the white crystals, you've got the green crystals, you've got the red crystals. I've got 3 guns, I'm gonna put 1 in each. And so we post this PvP video because we're super proud of this Condor kill we ganked. It was just 5 of us versus him in a plaque. And we're like, yeah, we're awesome, we're doing this Eve thing. And then all the comments are just flaming me for having 3 separate crystals in my guns at the same time. I'm like, come on.
But it looks so
no.
good. It looks so
Same thing.
good.
I did the same thing when I first started. In the in military, ships have long range guns. They got short range guns. They got all those things. Well, that's what I should do. I put it was called Dari, so I put a couple missile launchers, a couple guns, a couple blasters, a couple rails. Right? I thought that made sense because that's it's warfare. Luckily, I did not post a video of that though.
I had an Omen with like 3 small lasers and a small autocannon. They were all different ammo.
Yeah, and that makes
I had
total
a stabber
sense.
with lasers. A stabber with lasers and a mix of medium shield booster and 400mm armor plate. Yeah, man, I knew what I was doing.
Me, all the
Multiple
thing you
100
get, right?
mm plates.
Hey, that's another thing, but there's nothing from the game at all that explains why you don't want to do that, right? So, I mean, once again, an opportunity for a third-party person to come in and make a video saying, hey, don't do this because it makes no sense in the game mechanics. When I started the game, I immediately created my own corp. Right off the back, so a bunch of us came from, unfortunately, WoW. We were in a guild there. We all came to the game together because we all just sick of WoW. 2 of the people in the guild had played Eve a lot, and they knew about it, and they had been trying to get us to come over there for like a year. Finally, we said, okay, we'll do it. We created the corp, and we all didn't play for the first month because learning is fun, right? I don't know if you guys remember learning skills, so we just loaded up our learning skills and waited till that was done, and we were planning to come back. Came back, 4 of us showed up. Like 8 people just didn't come back. And other 4, 2 of them were the 2 people that played the game before. And the other ones was super excited like I was. Except he put everything, he was going to be a space hauler. Put everything he owned in one ship and got ganked. And he quit the game. Never played it again. So I joined Faction Warfare, tried to. I ended up getting in Drake Train, which is a Finnish corp. I didn't speak a lick of Finnish. They didn't speak English in any of the fleets. But I had the most fun ever. Those guys, they were actually good at PvP, so I did learn a lot from them, which was nice. But I don't know how I got into Corp. It was by accident, I think. I don't know. Then after that was nullsec. Within the first 3 months, I think it was in nullsec.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm very curious, Shen. You joined most recently. I'm wondering if you had a dramatically different experience than those of us who are more than a decade versus me, like right smack in the middle, and you who's just a little over a year, right? What was your experience like?
Yeah, so I actually had a real life friend who pulled me into the game. So I started in Highsec in Kisogo, so that's like 3 jumps away from Jita. So that was very convenient for the first part. It took me like about 20 days, and I joined my Nosec Corp. So it was kind of said and done that like I will be joining that Corp once I'm ready. I feel ready, and I just basically created my second character. I joined Nosec, and I wasn't in a new bro corp or anything like that. It was just a corp, and it's like 2 or 3 people in it, and then I basically started looking for tutorials, even university sites. So they were really helpful, and basically started ratting. That's it, and then started become a grinding machine for ISK.
Fair enough, fair enough. Was that like, when you look back on it, do you feel like something could have gone differently? There could have been different resources available to you that would have made it easier? Or did you start with some people who then trailed off and you think you know what could have kept them in?
I feel like overall I had a really good experience. I think part of that is about joining a group, right? So I joined a group about 20 days after I joined Eve, and I'm still in that alliance. And I think that's a really good part about Eve, which is instead of looking for tutorials online and then trying to get informations, you can ask for people inside a player group for informations, and often you get more direct answers, then you're looking for informations online, because sometimes informations can be outdated, things that can be changed. I think, like we said before, right? Industry has changed dramatically over, I think, at the end of April with that patch. So if you ask players, they will give you the most recent and the most accurate information to date.
See, I have a different opinion on that. From my experience, if you ask a player, like, hey, how do I do this thing? They'll give you their experience. But their experience is limited to, well, their experience. They may not know about the recent change. They may not know about the alternative, what's it called? The alternative strategy that just is way better. So I personally would trust doing a Google search and finding out what has been like confirmed by multiple other players over, oh, let me go ask my Corp mate, because I'm sure he knows. Like, I don't trust my Corp mate. I mean, I trust
Well, they
them
could just
to
be
have
wrong,
my
right?
back, but I don't trust them to know what's best.
Yeah, they could just be wrong. Not maliciously. They could just be doing it wrong for 10 years. I do all kinds of things wrong for 10 years. I mean, I'm terrible at the game. And then you have the people out there, and unfortunately it's true in this game, that may tell you the wrong thing on purpose because they think it's funny. You have that. I mean, that's why I don't ever send new players to, what's the in-game channel? That
Eve help?
Eve Help. My experience there has been lots of trolls. I think they're way better at moderating it now than they used to be, but that soured me. People are being dumbasses there. I sent him to Mike
Fair enough.
Azariah. It's a great resource.
Oh yeah, the Magic School bot.
Very, very helpful. There's lots of different people. I'll be sending to Cade stuff too. There's a lot of people, that are out there that do help and can. It's just, I guess, over the years they go up and down. Who's there, who's not there.
Yeah, rookie help is especially bad now because you've actually made it public. Before, you couldn't get back in after 30 days. You were kicked out and no one else could get in. But for whatever reason, CCP have made it public, so it's just flooded with trolls constantly.
I think they were getting too many fake accounts.
Yeah, that's quite probable, yeah.
Fake accounts, and I know when it was closed, there was a lot of, it was a big request from the community, from the people who did like new player help stuff. They're like, let us back in so that we can teach these new players. You don't want them stuck with a bunch of other new players who don't know what they're doing. You want, unfortunately, more elderly players. Yeah, but then you get all the trolls.
Come in too,
Yeah, when the door's open, it's open for everyone. But I actually tend to avoid rookie help because I can't put up with the same 6 or 7 questions being spammed every 2 minutes, all day, every day, because everyone who's in there is doing the tutorials, and the tutorials are crap, and they all get stuck at exactly the same point, and there's only so many times I can answer the same question a day before I just have to take the headphones off and walk away. That's where the idea for doing the videos came from.
Oh, okay.
So I'll just put it out there and you guys can just go and watch that and then come back and hopefully all the questions have been answered.
That's a good strategy. And you just set up you don't set up a bot. You just set up a timer on your computer, so you go back and you paste it into the channel every 5 minutes or whatever, right?
It's tempting to do that, but then the ISDs will mute me for advertising, so you can't. You just can't win.
Yeah, they would they?
All right. Any final thoughts on new player experience, YouTube tutorials, that general type of thing?
Always check the date on anything you look at in way of EVE resources. Always check the date on videos. Always check the date on text guides, because EVE is 18 years old and stuff goes obsolete very, very quickly. So always check the date and make sure whatever you're looking is up to date.
Okay, where can we find your videos?
My YouTube channel is simply just Cade Plays Games, all one word, very easy to find. Well, I hope so.
And how often do you post videos? How often do you plan to post videos?
I do about 3 videos every 2 weeks. There's usually one EVE Online guide a fortnight on a Tuesday, and every Saturday is usually some other game just to fill in the void while you're waiting for the next EVE game. So.
Very cool.
Because scripting EVE videos does take 2 weeks.
Well, I imagine. Yeah, it would take me 6 years probably to make a 5-minute video.
All I was going to say is I know more than one group that gets a lot of recruitment done by when they kill a new player who wanders into their space, they'll convo them and like answer the like, oh, how did you find me questions and stuff that come up, and it usually just like SRP them a little bit and bring them in and teach them the game. And I think it's really good if you stumble upon a babby in the wild to nurture the babby and to reach out to the babby. And obviously, if they just like rage at you, just close the conversation. It's like, okay, bye. But a lot of them would just be like, how did you find me? Or questions
I had
like
that
that.
experience.
Right. And if you want the game to keep going, you need other players to shoot, right? So
100% agree with you.
nurture the babby. If you kill like a destroyer, maybe thinking about SRP in it, right? Like it's nothing for us, but it's so
absolutely.
much.
I mean, clubbing baby seals is good for your kill board, but it's bad for the game, and after a while it becomes no fun at all. So it's best to inform people you kill so they're armed with knowledge next time. So next time you might actually get a good, interesting fight out of it.
We actually had a situation where I was hanging out with one group of blues that does that. They kill the new players and reach out to them and talk to them a bit. And they're like, oh, there's a new player ratting in a caracal in their space. And one of them brought a thorax there. And I went to the site and I bumped the thorax away from the caracal and I was like, run! Run, Pappy! And it just didn't move. I tried so hard.
Back in when I was in wormhole space in Anomalous Existence, we had a policy where we lived in low-class wormhole space with a high-sec static. So you would get a lot of new players trying out the exploration thing, going to day trip and wormholes, etc. And our policy was if you killed something, you would look up their character and you'd find out were they less than like 1 or 2 months old. And if they were, you had to send them 10 mil and you had to spend a certain amount of time like explaining what happened to them. And so it was always fun. We'd sit on comms, be like, oh, we got a Heron or whatever on our high-sec static. I wonder which SIG he's going to. Okay, he went to the relic. Let's go get him. And then after, like, whoever got the final blow, then it was all a matter of waiting and seeing how much ISK is this guy going to lose because he just killed a new player. It was so much fun, but very rewarding. Everybody was always happy about it. All right, well, let's move on to some other stuff. We do have, in case you weren't aware, there's a skin summer sale happening right now. It is 30% off select high, like, value skins. I don't understand Eve
cool
marketing stuff.
Can TCP is doing their best they can to fucking bankrupt me because I've got a skin addiction and it's ridiculous.
Are you a skin connoisseur, Domanark?
1,136 activated skins.
Whew. Man, like
on one character.
I don't even activate my partner's skin. Like, what about you, Cade? Do you do the skin thing?
No, I usually play so far zoomed out that you can't even see the ship, so I just don't care. And I'm that old school that I just really do not care what my ship looks like.
When skins first came out, I was still doing Closed Space Nerds podcast, and I railed about it. I was so mad. I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. I don't like in-game purchase. I think it was stupid. It was just, weeks upon weeks, I just talk shit about it, and Badmouth Carneros, who's now my Alliance CEO, he was actually at the time CCP Zinfandel, and he was one of the ones that kind of spearheaded the project. Then they came out with skins that looked cool, and I got addicted. And now Carlos is my favorite person for introducing skins to the game. And
so with the skin sale, is this a thing where you could buy them while they're on sale, then sell them later for a profit type thing? Like, is that a thing people do? Yes,
you absolutely can do that. If you buy them from the Eve store, they don't automatically apply to your character. If you get them from like the free giveaways, when you redeem those, they automatically go to your, they're automatically activated, so you don't have a choice on those. But the ones you buy from the New Eden store, and if you buy them off the market, obviously they don't get automatically activated. I mean, some of them go for billions.
Skin investments can make a lot of money. I'm still holding on to my skins from Vegas and Toronto in 2019.
The ones that make the big money of the year, the ones they gave out in London, in Australia. There's some ones that
that Vegas Ikatursa is pretty nuts. The casino.
I immediately activated that one because it's cool. Yeah.
I still have mine sitting waiting for the day.
I know back when skins first came out, they had the the original Crimson Harvest. And you'd be flying around, and at like every single one of those sites dropped the Abaddon Crimson Harvest skin. And so they were worthless when they first dropped. But then I just left them in a hangar, and I had a pile of hundreds of them. And years later, now instead of tens of thousands of ISK, they are millions of ISK apiece. And I'm sure I could have waited longer to sell them off, but I was just like, oh, okay, well, goodbye now.
What
Like
was the actual
even
name of the skin? Do you remember?
I swear it was the Crimson Harvest Abaddon or something. It was the ones where it had the Blood Raider blood splotches, but just on other ships. It was very early on when the skins happened.
It was Blood Raiders.
It could have been Blood Raiders. Like an Abaddon. It was after they changed the skin system from you have a separate kind of ship that is the special like skinned ship into you have the skin license thingy.
So it's probably just the Blood Raider skin because it has like the paint that you see on like the Ash Moo and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but they were worthless when they first dropped because there were so many of them. But then CCP just didn't drop them anymore, and they raised and raised and raised in value. All right, well, let's talk about, instead of raising value, destroying value. Stuff has been happening over in Delve. I know everybody's been interested to hear about it. Apparently a lot has happened recently. Things have really accelerated in their pace in terms of the destruction happening over there. Shen, do you have could you give us a quick rundown of what's going on?
Yep. So as of right now, all iHubs in Delve has been reconquered by the Imperium. Most iHubs in other 3 regions, Querious, Fountain, and Prairie bases, they're taking their time, and it's working working in progress right now. So move on. 21 normal 40 stars, so not 20 because just as the show was on, there's one more 40 stars that was down from the PAPI side since the beginning of the retreat, with an addition of a faction 40 star. So that's the Martinez 40 star, it's a Galente variant of the faction 40 star. So there's been one Keepstar kill mail that was lost in Impasse. That was lost by Eternal Requiem. So they lost this Keepstar. So they had this Keepstar in Impasse a long time ago, but Impasse was conquered by Red Alliance and 2 of their, I think 3 of their allies. And that Keepstar was there since then. It was not touched. But since the retreat of PAPI, this Keepstar lost its protection, and it's just similarly gone like that. So not 8, but 10 Tataras were lost from the PAPI side, including the T5ZI one. So that's the one that's on the 1DQ gate. So we can see the Cumul there is really expensive. We have T2 reaction and T2 reprocessing rigs in it. So total value, I think, around 56 billion for 1 Tetara. And 9 Sotios were lost on the PAPI side, including T5Z one, T5ZI one. So that one's also located near the 1DQ gate, but that one didn't generate a kill mill. So there was about like 1,000 plus people shooting it. So I think the server was cramped up and things happened. So this is the same thing we have seen from the structure clearing from the PAPI side when they first got to Delve. That took about, I think, 2 or 3 months to clear out all Imperium structures. And after that, we have the first Keepstar successfully unanchored and saved by PAPI. So we can see the screen shot. Yeah, so we can see the screenshot here. So that's a Keepstar and the Keepstar up Quantum Core. So
Was that one of the original ones that was being unanchored? Like on that day? Okay. So they 1 out of 6, we know for sure got saved.
Yeah, we know that. And after that, so the T5ZI Keepstar is coming out of reinforcement August 13th at 23:43. So that will be a historical moment, I feel like, right? So that marks the war maybe is over. I think this Keepstar used to be the staging Keepstar for PAPI as a whole, as a coalition, and now it's going to be destroyed.
So
I offered to buy it. They wouldn't sell it to me.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think there's going to be a kill or a fight here. Quite frankly, I don't think there's going to be a fight on just about any of the Citadel timers in Delve. So my recommendation to you, dear viewer, if you want to go pad your kill board, fly around Delve and just take pot shots at the citadels when they come out of Rio, because it's you can lose all of the well-fit faction battleships you want to, and you will never go less than like 80% kill efficiency if you care.
So,
Now, if you're not blue, though, do it carefully because you will get.
Yeah,
so
just like
that actually happened the other night. We were roaming in Delve, and there was a hull bash going on from like a Drekavac fleet on an Aster house, and I went to a weird celestial and then bounced the Aster house to hopefully land on a different side than the Drekavacs, and I did. And I was just in a retribution, so it didn't matter. And I was like, "I'm here to help. Don't shoot me!" And I just started shooting the Aster house, and then my couple of friends warped in, and we started shooting the Aster, and a couple of things tried to bounce on us, like a Hecate just threw itself at us and died. And at the end, like a bunch of stuff tried to jump on us and caught some of the slower people to react. But it was hilarious.
It's still fun, though, right?
God, it was so funny.
It's stuff like that makes this game great.
Indeed. I gotta ask Domanark, it's interesting seeing all the ships that are being brought out to kill, especially these extra large structures with crazy high damage cap. I know there was a Zenitra that it was screenshotted out on one of them. Are you guys like hitting damage caps even on Sotios and Keepstars, or is it still not really hitting that damage cap?
Oh no, we took our super fleet out just yesterday. I went on it, and we were hitting damage cap without using the torps, just using the guns on the fighters. It's crazy.
For those who are unfamiliar with super capital fighters, they have even all fighters, they have multiple weapon systems, and the torpedoes are the ones that have a cooldown on them, but they do crazy amounts of volley damage.
42,000 per squadron. Yeah.
But even without those, just the regular auto attack, to use a MOBA term, maybe.
Yeah, we're getting deflected on that.
I'll just add here. Usually, people don't use anti-capital fighters for them.
That's what we were using. Yeah.
Yeah, but people usually use the hardware ones since they can shoot at long range, so they don't get affected by the PDS on the citadels, which can be an issue sometimes.
Somehow they must have known the PDS was either not, everything was off the line, or I don't know what the deal was, because we switched out from long range to those because we must have had intel. Because you're right. Yeah. Otherwise, we would have lost those. They turned the PDS on, we lose them all, and that would have made me cry.
I mean, sometimes we can see the intel doesn't work, right? We've seen like 2 super carriers, I think, that were lost.
Oh yeah, I want to do a quick PSA about that one. Thank you for reminding me, Shen. Let's go to Z-Kill. Let's pull up super losses, and let's look at the only super solo kills in like EVE history. Okay, so for those of you who aren't aware, extra large citadels have Doomsday, and the Doomsday damage, it scales based off of your speed inversely. So if you're not moving, you take a crap ton more damage. It also scales off of your signature radius. So if you have a big fat ship, like a super carrier, it does a crap ton more damage. And so unfortunately, like, people get this idea that they just won this massive war, they're the biggest, baddest boys in town, they're rocking up in their super carrier, gonna go kill a PAPI Keepstar, and then they get one shot by a Doomsday. So, like, I'm not throwing shade. This is a legitimate PSA. Like, I've done this before, not in a super carry against a Keepstar, but warping my Golem into Dread Pirate Scarlet level 4 mission, I'm like, I'm the biggest, baddest thing in high sec. I can kill this thing, no problem. But then I spend 2 minutes shooting torps at a frigate, and I didn't kill the battle cruisers, and now they've gone through my tank. Like, I understand where this comes from. So this is just a friendly warning. If you're gonna go and kill a Keepstar or anything with a Doomsday, a line out. This is the end of your PSA.
I'm gonna add to that PSA. If you're gonna use a super to go kill or any large ship to go kill any type of citadel, listen to the instructions of your FC. That's pretty simple. They were not doing it right.
Fair enough. Oh, and even the second one that died to the Sotio, it's full crab fit.
So this one is fully ratting fit. That's what you see on a ratting super carrier. All right, don't see any tank whatsoever.
What do you need tank for?
Yeah. When you're bashing a structure, it's a good idea to have some tank, with a volley of anti-capital missiles on Sotio. It is very hurtful.
Yeah. If there's any chance it's got to be somebody responding, I don't know, have a PvP fit maybe.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think there's a chance of people responding. It's just
there's
the
a
gunner.
chance. Not,
The gun.
not probable, but possible, right? Have a PvP. You're doing PvP. Hitting a structure is not PvE, right?
Okay, all right. Yep, you're
It's
right.
elite PvE. It's elite PvP on the level of shooting a shuttle.
Hey, I like shooting structures. Come on now. I'd like the 1E person. I actually enjoy it. I have fun when we do it. I don't know.
All right, Shen. I'm sorry I derailed you. What's? Do we have anything left happening in Delve that we should talk about?
Yeah, well, in Delph, I think, well, in Delph, no, but in Querious, it looks like Siberian Squad and Dracaris, they're moving into Delph. They're moving back, oh no, moving back into Querious. So Siberian Squad was the alliance, the Russian alliance that changed side during the middle of the war, and so basically they were in Legacy, so they were on the PAPI side, but they changed to the Imperium. And now they will be having some space in Querious. And Drakari, I think they traditionally had their space in Querious, so that's not surprising. But seeing Siberian Squad joining them in here, now we figured out where Siberian Squad is gonna go.
So, like the last
Probably.
three times.
It hasn't really been decided yet, though.
Yeah, but from the iHub, that's what we're seeing right now.
The last like 3 times Querious has been bulldozed in a war, whoever reconquered the neighboring regions, there's always this open question, are we going to get a Querious Fight Club again? And some people have tried it before where you try and like install like small little, not fully developed, not super capital ready alliances in there and let them fight amongst each other, and they have super convoluted rules and try to make it just a cool place to PvP. Are we just officially saying that's not happening? Have we given up on the dream?
Siberian Squad, I don't know. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't like deal with them before, right? I think we've seen each other like on the battlefield, maybe in M2 or something like that. But I don't know much about them, to be honest.
Querious Fight Club thing's good idea on paper. It has not ever really kind of come out equal to good in actual practice. What you end up having is, they're supposed to be friendly fights. You can go out there and fight friendly with these people, but you have a big group that just farms them to the point where they leave. It hasn't worked the way it looks good on paper. Because you're not supposed to do. There's a lot of rules when you go out with the Querious Fight Club. There were anyway of what you couldn't do, right? And it didn't matter. You get a 30-man fleet comes through every 10 minutes, and you've got 20 people total. That doesn't equal fun, right? It's hard. It's a hard thing. It's a good idea, hard to make happen, I guess is a good way of putting it.
Fair enough. Any final thoughts? Anything we missed in today's show?
One more thing. So Warp Intention, before it was it's still a legacy alliance. Now they will move to Geminate with Brave, and after their move, they will be joining Brave Collective. So
They're coming from who again?
Warped Intention.
Warped Intention. Okay.
Yeah, so they
were legacy, right?
Yeah, so they were in period bases during the war.
Oh, fair enough. Can you make whiteout jokes if it's an alliance? Asking for a friend? Or were these guys not an alliance? Were they a corp?
They were alliance. They were alliance.
Okay.
A legacy alliance. Yeah. So
some alliances turn into corps. It's happened.
Yeah. Just to answer one question in chat, I see this a lot. Can a Sotio mount a Doomsday? No. The answer is no. So a Sotio can have newts. It can have anti-capital or anti-subcapital missile launchers, and the PDS. So Doomsday is special for the for Keepstar, and Dragon Doomsday is a Voltron one, which can bounce off 5 targets. I think you can add up to 10 with the rigs.
And thank you, chat and Shen, for correcting me, because I totally misspoke earlier and said that all XL Citadels can use them, which is technically true, because the Keepstar is the only XL Citadel, but many people consider all Upwell structures to be Citadels, so my apologies. All right, anybody else? Final thoughts for the show?
I'd just like to say thanks to Cade for making those videos.
Indeed.
Appreciate it very much, and thanks for joining us.
I'm personally looking forward to the next installments in the manufacturing series as I continue to try and understand what this nonsense is.
No, don't thank me until we've gone down a rabbit hole and I've melted your brain. So you can thank me after that.
Oh, dude, that happened in the first one.
Fair enough. Well, thank you, Arsia, for coming on the show and helping us have a discussion. Same to you, Domanark, and Shen as well, our correspondents in space over in the Delve Theater area. Warzone. We'll go with Warzone. I like that term. Anyway, that's it for Talking Stations. See you again tomorrow.
Go do the raid.
Yeah, who are we going to raid?
Christ,